Welcome to Bob's Bulletins. Today's top story, Boss Baby. So Boss Baby is a DreamWorks animated film that was released in March of 2017. It has a runtime of about 97 minutes, and it was directed by the man behind Madagascar, Tom McGrath. So to jump right in, this story was very enjoyable. It had a lot of feels to it, had a lot of emotions, kept you entertained. It didn't really slow down any. There was no point where you kind of look away and be like, oh God, I wish it would hurry up. You were entertained throughout the whole movie. It was really fast paced, so it would get done with one segment and jump right into the next one. So it really kept you focused on the movie and you really wanted to know what happened. Now, I did get a little predictable at certain parts of it. You could kind of tell what was going to happen and maybe even could tell the ending, but didn't take away from the joy of the movie. So sometimes the journey is more important than the ending, and that's how this movie is. Even though you knew what was going to happen, but the journey was just amazing. It had a lot of twists and turns that you might not have seen. It did follow the standard, cartoon happy ending, which is perfectly fine. It was still didn't take away from it. I don't want to spoil too much, but it was a very good story, predictable but enjoyable. So it did have a lot of feels to it. It had a lot of laughs. I thought it was very funny. There was a lot of funny moments in it. It didn't have a lot of, what I call kid humor, which is just like the fart jokes and everything like that. There were a few, but there was enough to tone down. And there was some, of course, hidden adult jokes like all the animated movies do. So jumping from that to the animation, this was a 3D computer animated movie. It did have some imagination scenes from the older brother, and these were very interesting because they kind of did like a 2D flat animation mixed in with the 3D kind of animation. So it was really interesting how they did that, and it really made them pop that much more. They made them seem like they were a completely different world, full of bright colors and a lot of movements and everything like that. So the imagine scenes were just so good, well done. Ooh, that's gross. They were so well done. So, and the animation itself, the colors were just so vibrant, and the faces were nice. You could tell the emotions on the faces, like if they were sad or happy. You could see it almost in their eyes, kind of, which I really like. Another thing I'm really big on is shadows, because to me it's a very small detail that if you pay attention to it and it's done right, then it just shows how much detail and how much time and effort it went into animating this show. And these shadows were amazing. Even at some points you could see the hands move in the shadows. So there was also a few times they were outside with nature and everything, which to most people consider the hardest thing to animate, since how can you're trying to take the real world and put it into something fictional. But they did a pretty good job. It's not the best nature scene I've ever seen in animation, but it's definitely not the worst. It's definitely high up on the list. It is very well done, so it's very enjoyable. The animation is done so well that it doesn't take away from the movie. It is definitely something that puts the movie up one more ranking, if not more. The opening scene, of course, is one of my favorite scenes when they're explaining Baby Core. This isn't a spoiler. It's in the opening. It was in the trailer. So when you see Baby Core for the first time, just the animation, the imagination that went into it, the drawing that had to go into it, and so beautiful too, like the light glares and everything like that, the straight lines that were in it, I really love. I mean, it was just perfect in every sense of the way. So the animation definitely is the top tier for me. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie, and it's definitely worth seeing just for the animation, honestly. But going into the voice acting, so it was starring Alec Baldwin, and he played the voice of the Boss Baby, and he brought his A game. It was amazing. I keep saying amazing because I really liked his performance in this, because you see the baby and then he has that real baritone voice. I don't want to say raspy, but his kind of raspy baritone voice. So it really was very interesting coming out of the baby's voice, especially when they would switch it from the baby sounds into his voice, and they'd go back and forth. And I mean, it was just such a good transition that it made you believe that he was actually the boss and not a baby. So, and he brought his voice to it. It was perfect. Different scenes he did was just wonderful. He really brought his A game, and he made you feel like he was the boss with his voice, which is awesome. And then Tim, who's the older brother, actually had two voices. The older Tim, or the narrator, was done by Tobey Maguire, who did a good job, of course. He's a well-known actor, and his narration was good throughout the movie. It didn't take away from the movie. Sometimes they get too much narration, but this one did just the right amount, and his voice kind of blended in, you know. And then Miles Bakshi is the one that played Tim throughout the movie. And my favorite part about him was his ability to express the emotions in his voice. So when he was happy, you could tell with his voice. You didn't even necessarily need to see the animation. It's one of those that you could have your eyes closed or leave the room and just hear it, and you could tell how he was feeling with his voice. Did a very good job with that. He did it throughout the movie. There wasn't a time they slipped up. And throughout the movie, everyone that was in this movie did a very good job. The voice casting director did an amazing job, A+, because, I mean, Alec, of course, as the baby was amazing. Toby as the narrator was good. Miles as Tim was good. You had Lisa Kudrow as the mom, who she kind of has that mom voice, I guess you would say, so she played a really good job, kind of a concerned mom's voice. Jimmy Kimmel was the dad, who's funny and everything. And then Steve Buscemi was the bad guy, Francis. It was pretty cool to see him as well. Steve Buscemi's been in everything, so his voice really added something to the villain, you know, that stereotypical voice that he has that everyone loves. So the voice acting was another thing in this that really brought it up and everything. So, I mean, to wrap it all up and everything, I would definitely say the story is good. It is predictable, though. Like, that's one thing I do take away, because I think a lot of kids in movies have got that happy ending syndrome, where everyone believes the kids' movie has to be a happy ending, and normally adults or parents can tell what's going to happen as soon as the movie starts, and I'm sure a bunch of kids can as well. But it did have some twists and turns in it, but it was still kind of followed that mainstay. The animation to it, like I said, really good. There were little tweaks here and there that I could see. I did see kind of some phasing where, you know, like maybe a hand looked like it was going somewhere it wasn't. There was a few oh heck, like how the heck did that happen moments. They kind of played some of those into like jokes and stuff, but some of them were like just impossible and you don't see how they happened, which is in every animated movie. And then the voice acting also gets an A+ as well. I mean, the voice was amazing. Everyone brought their A game, of course, like I said before. So just to reiterate, I mean, I would definitely give this a rewind and replay. And I think it's something that the family will enjoy over and over again. Kids will enjoy it. It's one of those lighthearted movies that you don't necessarily have to think too much about. You may know what's going to happen, but it's still a fun and enjoyable time to get there. It was definitely one of those movies you can just watch over and over and never get tired of. Or at least I have, because I've watched it quite a few times just in the past couple days. So, anyway, I think it's very well done. It's enjoyable, and I hope you will watch it. I'm sure a lot of you have, but if you haven't, go out and see it. So leave a comment down below of what you would like to see me to review next, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. And make sure actually leave a comment also if you've seen this movie and what you thought of it. So if you like this episode, make sure you hit that little like button, and make sure you subscribe and ring that little bell so you don't miss the next issue of Bob's Bulletins. So until next time, Bob out.